Well, as you get older, you probably get a little more accepting of who you are and what you can do. That's a big one. As a composer, you have to acknowledge what you can do. What are your talents? That takes a long time to find out, but I think I'm at a point now where I'm much more accepting of what I do. Not quite so critical. Wow. I'm going a little easier on myself, let's put it that way.
It always locks together, it always works, it always fits. Again, not saying it's easy, but she has an amazing ear for sound and color, but she also has a really, I think, uncanny ability to write music that feels like you are sort of dancing the same choreography with three other musicians. I can't pinpoint that. I can just say that's my experience. That's what I feel when I play her music. If that makes sense.
I feel like three people dancing the same dance.
And going different directions, and doing different things. But yeah,
Does it feel like conversation for music?
Yes. Yeah. Always. There's it's funny. I mean, there's democracy in it, but it's never three people all speaking the same thing at once. She passes beautifully through instruments. So yeah, it's a wonderful conversation, but an interesting conversation. It's never one dimensional or boring.
So on this program, there are early works and there are new works. Starting with Big Sky, which is a piano trio, which was written in 2000. It has a big panoramic kind of sound world, and it depicts actually the idea of a big sky landscape like in Montana or South America, where I grew up, in the Andes, actually. So I'm happy with that piece, but I felt it needs a companion piece, so I put on "And They're Off," and that's a short, fast piece, and it's driven by the violin and the cello. With fast notes, the piano just plays the chords, punctuating them. Yeah, I think they kind of go together, those two pieces. And then Wings, which is one of my most played pieces for solo clarinet. Actually, I heard yesterday that this guy just recorded it for baritone sax.
And the word I would have chosen for her entire repertoire would be energy.
Yeah, and you mentioned the electricity and the energy and the depth, the brightness, the darkness, the middle ground, the middle area, the abyss. I mean, it has everything that you could possibly want. The articulation, all the colors of the instrument, from the louds to the aggressive to the accented to the smooth to the softest pianissimo to the fastest fingers, and it has it all.
And it's a virtuosic piece, which requires breath control, because I forgot the clarinetist had to breathe. I just forgot that. So that piece is about flying and it's that's a pretty good title. Some titles are hard for composers. I feel that the title should give a little window into the piece, not too big a window. I think Wings is a pretty good title for that piece.
I've taught the piece numerous times to numerous students, so I've heard it, I know it, I feel like I know it and understand it and love it, but it's a very different experience, you know, standing on stage and performing it, because you have to, it's so physical, it's such a physical work that it has so many challenges that you are unaware of just listening to it. So it's really been enjoyable.
You know, the first thing I would say about these two piano pieces is that they are so exceptionally well written for the instrument. And they're beautiful. So the combination of those two things makes me very happy to play them. I think there's a particular kind of joy for us as pianists to play music of composers who are pianists themselves. Of course, when you think of Beethoven and Chopin and Debussy and all these composers who naturally felt and heard how the instrument sounds. And one feels that with Joan Tower's music because it's so well written for the instrument and everything feels right and sounds right, which doesn't mean that it's not sometimes exceptionally difficult. It is, but at least the difficulties are rewarding.
Yes. I think generally things lie very well. At least speaking as a violinist.
Yeah.
For her music.
I can't speak for a flute either, but
Well, I would say also that, for instance, there's some things that she particularly likes. She likes starting from nothing, maybe starting in the low register. It happens that that's not so idiomatic on the flute, because if you start from the low register very softly, you will be flat.
yeah, that's true.
And so, however, again, like some other composers, when Joan writes something like that, and it's so important that it be that way, then I figure out a way to do it.
And she's not written anything that really makes one think, oh God, what does she think we're capable of? You know, it's all very much within the realm of the, not just the possible, but the what one wants to think.
The potential even.
Yeah.
And that's very good for my playing. So I learned something from the fact that
The more you work on it, the better it sounds, and you feel that you're discovering more and more layers in the music. And for me personally, that's very important, that the music is rewarding in that way, and that's been the case here. And one of the two pieces is a kind of perpetuum mobile. This is the engine piece. I call it the engine piece because it's really from start to finish a very quick, moving notes, kind of wild dash.
So what I did was they sent me the poem called No Longer Very Clear, and in it there were these beautiful phrases, and one of them was or like an engine. It's a hard piece.
And why is it hard to play? Well, it's very fast. It's using the keyboard from top to bottom. I think one of the technical difficulties is the combination of the hands. You know, right hand, left hand, up and down, and it has a kind of rhythmic spikiness and irregularity. In other words, there are sections that are straight ahead, as an engine would go when it's heading straight and there's nothing on the tracks. But then there are other places where it seems like there is something on the tracks and it has to twist and turn. And so there are jagged edges. And to manage those in a way which is reflecting the jaggedness of the music, but also at the same time somehow effortless in the delivery of the performance.
That Benjamin Haaksma was fantastic. And he, again, put every creative energy into both of those pieces. over and over. I mean, he played them several times for me, and it was just amazing, the commitment. And he has a lot of chops, this guy. You know, it was amazing. I've heard the pieces, both of them, a lot. So he did a great job. No.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's
And these players, these are all Bard faculty,
that's amazing.
and that was another treasured thing for me. That I decided that this should be all Bard faculty. It should not be just me. It should be Bard faculty performers, because we have a star-studded parade of performers here. And I thought they should be featured too. I mean, they should be brought out too. It was amazing the way they offered their services as a faculty member. They don't get paid for these things because they're faculty.
Wow.
So they did it twice, traveled miles, some of them, twice to do both concerts. But they did it with a lot of love and a lot of commitment. And that was just so nourishing to me.
So, will you please talk a little bit about, either one of you, this role of Da Capo and the relationship you have with Bard College, and how did that start, and what does it continue to do today?
Okay, I think it started, actually when it started in 1982, Joan Tower was a member of the group. And she realized how important it was for composers to be able to work with performers and find out, gosh, the clarinet sounds like this in the low register, but it sounds like this in the middle register, and it sounds like this in the high register, just to find out all those nuances. And she realized that if she was teaching composition here, she wanted her composition students to be able to experiment and to try different registrations, to be able to hear their pieces, to rewrite. I mean, one thing that happens sometimes is we'll play a piece one year and then we'll come back the next semester or in the fall, and the same piece will appear, but it will be changed. It'll be different registration or different pacing, and Joan realized how important that was for composers. And what I don't know that she had this in mind, but what actually it is really wonderful for us too, because we get to kind of hear things from the compositional angle.
Right.
And that's a different way of hearing pieces, and I think it helps us to communicate more.
It's always useful having the composer there, because obviously they have a real image of how they want it to sound. And with Joan, she was very exact about what she wanted brought out and what she wanted less brought out. It wasn't complicated at all.
Descending, which was written for my sister who passed away, who I was close to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why it's so heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Wow. It is heartfelt, that piece. Ten years ago, I would have been saying, no, I got to change that, I got to change this, I got to,
You don't even want to touch them?
Well, I was surprised by the Da Capo piece. As I sat down in Pat's apartment, and they played it through for me absolutely perfectly. I mean, they had learned it, like, and I was like this. It's like, sort of like a tsunami hit you. Like this. I said, this this actually works pretty well.
Of course, the Pierrot ensemble has become like the string quartet of the 20th century. It is a standard work because it has three instrument families already in the group.
Right.
That's right.
And of course, we've so often played with percussion. There's so much repertoire, as you know, for Pierrot plus percussion.
It just complements each other so well, and I didn't expect that. Let's talk about a little bit about looking back. Joan's piece.
The new piece.
This premiere. What is it like to premiere a piece with Joan?
Well, it's wonderful because for Joan, a piece is always alive. And actually, even when you've played the piece many times, Joan will come in and say, let's try this diminuendo, start a little sooner. She's always keeping everything alive the way we do it. The music has to be speaking, and if it isn't speaking, then she wants to change it, and she helps us with that.
She obviously also knows this instrumentation so well, and what's possible, and her craft is so well developed. I mean, she knows how to make instruments come in and out, emerge, and solos and duets and these various combinations of the instruments are fascinating. And also just the momentum of the piece and the way it builds up and shapes. It's just
really understands how to do it.
What are some of the challenges that her music presents to a player?
Well, it's exactly that, the momentum. You build up momentum, and something that was easy when you did it out of context, suddenly, oh my God, it's getting more exciting, whoops! and it's really...
The parts are virtuosic. They're really written for virtuoso players.
Yeah,
I don't want to brag or anything, but...
No. You earned the bragging credit.
I didn't like the ending. But Steve said, don't change it, don't change anything. So I haven't changed anything with that piece. It's going to be played again in New York next week. I like that piece. I love the percussion piece because I love percussion. It's just my thing.
Whenever somebody has a weird idea or sound that doesn't already fit in one of the other instruments, they give it to percussion anyway.
So I wrote this little 5-minute piece for little percussion that takes up a 1x2 table of an orchestra of little instruments.
And so every time we work with the composer, one of the first things we're all doing together is being like, what's this going to be? And sometimes that means come over to the studio and we just pull stuff off the shelf and we just start working with that.
And so I made up my own little percussion with real instruments, and I played it and I improvised and I tried it, and then I finally got it together and wrote a piece called Small. And then percussion came on. I said, Jesus, this would be so great on 4 percussion. Wow, I could amplify this thing, just amplify it in time, in content, and in sound. So that's what I did.
After the sheet music was received, did you guys also have to adapt to the situation, to the room?
Well, yes, and I mean, we had the initial round, the initial draft of music, and then we got into a room together. Because in this case, there's a lot of choreography involved. There are 9 different tables that the 4 of us kind of move around to.
There's little things too that you just don't, that are kind of hard to even for us to think about preemptively when you're workshopping stuff. because all the instruments are really small, there's these little drums that Remo makes, they're little kids' drums, and these little egg shakers. And the rhythms you have to play are really fast. They're not super loud, so you don't have to like really wail, but you're playing a lot of twitchy rhythms and stuff going around really fast, and egg shakers move when you hit them. And so the minute we started playing, it's like the egg shaker, you hit it twice and it just like rolls across. So in that moment, like I think I wasn't around when the decision not to move instruments. When you said that, I was like, oh man, because I taped all my stuff down. Yeah. My first instinct was like, well, I can't play this egg shaker unless it's like cemented to the table. So I taped everything down, and I think that would have sort of blew your whole idea out of water. It's like, okay, now pick your... No, I cannot.
I just want to say that working with these guys was so creative. It's not always creative working with people, especially if the page becomes the Bible. The page is not the Bible with percussionists, which makes them very creative. And these guys have done it so much and so long, they're very fast at it, and I just want to thank you.
Well, I want to thank you back by saying Joan was an early supporter of So when we were first starting out. Just in our first couple years of existence, she was always so enthusiastic and so supportive, and that's one of the reasons why it's really special for us to be a part of this.
I think every young composer should look at Joan as somebody that they should absolutely copy the way she lives her life. And I don't mean artistically. I mean just being a good person. Like working with Joan, it's like the art. Quite frankly, with the four of us, kind of doesn't matter. It's just like because Joan's great. She's great to hang out with and work with. So thank you, Joan.
And confirming how you felt about the piece was true. And Joan just is a really funny lady who doesn't take herself too seriously with this, and that really adds a whole nother layer of humor to it.
Well, that's the contrast.
Yeah.
Thank you. Boring.
So what I'm curious about is this thank you piece, which is it's a world premiere. It's kind of bonkers, kind of silly.
Yeah.
The whole audience at the DiMenna concert just went crazy for this thing.
Yeah.
Which was actually, really fun. I'm in the audience, and I'm sure you guys as singers, you're watching this and seeing that, hey, they're laughing. We must be doing something right. So, what is it like? Is there any spontaneity involved? Is it all notated? Like, what is it like to sing this crazy piece?
Like, you get a cue to do a certain action. Like the snoring.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of take that as far as you want to go.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be like half falling asleep and someone needs to like pick you up and get you to the next section that we're going to sing.
Yeah, like all of our gestures and the physical activity is dictated to us, but how we perform it, whether just within ourselves or to each other, is of our own choosing.
What has the rehearsal process been like with Dawn and learning these two pieces?
It's been a fun experience. These are two pretty challenging pieces, but I feel like between having Dawn in the room with us each time we're working on the piece and Joan Tower and all of these awesome singers, it's really come together.
Dawn Upshaw. Sorry. See, I'm 5 years off. 2010. Dawn became a colleague of ours around that time or even before that. And she's a singer who loves composers. She's worked with a lot of composers. So she knows a lot about new music, and she knows how to deal with composers and how to, she's had a lot of pieces written by living composers. So when she asked me for a piece for voice and piano, I had never written for voice, ever. I just found the whole idea of words and music like oil and water. Just, no, I don't want to go there. I said, I have to do this. I have to do this. So I was thinking of a song that I love, Over the Rainbow, which is an old song. And I wrote to her jokingly, and I said, how about a variation on Over the Rainbow with a doo-wop backup? And she wrote back, she said, I love that song. She didn't mention the doo-wop backup.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought, great, I'll take those wonderful words and scramble them around and write a song based on Over the Rainbow. And that's exactly what I did. And the publisher at first rejected the first version because it was too close.
Oh dear.
It wasn't the publisher, it was the publisher of Over the Rainbow that rejected it. So I re-scrambled the words and came up with another version, and that she sang that several times.
I'd like to ask just a couple of
Yeah.
questions about Up High. It's such an extraordinary song, and what caught my attention, aside from the vocal part, was the piano accompaniment.
Well, yeah, it's piano based.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
the piano there is for a comfort blanket.
well, I don't know. I don't even know how to ask. But how did you get the idea of these twinkling sounds? Why that?
Well, that was coming from the words. These birds up high and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to create images of the words.
Okay.
Yeah. The words were driving, I hate to say this, but the words were driving some of the music.
And I mean, yeah, it's very interesting because to hear your perspective saying that almost you don't want to admit that the words are driving the music, but it didn't come across that way.
It came across as what?
Well, it created the piano. I didn't even realize that. It didn't occur to me. Up high, because that's exactly where the register of the piano is playing. Mm-hmm. It created this almost ethereal sounding soundscape for the voice to have domain, which I mean, Dawn sang fantastically as always. And
well, it was funny that our first meeting was here, and I didn't know her that well, and I was really nervous because a song, the voice, the whole thing made me very nervous. And I go into the room, it was in the back room, and I'll never forget this, Blum, and I walk in and she says, I just want to tell you, Joan, that I'm a little nervous. I go, well, that makes two of us. I was touched by her honesty, that she would actually just say that. It was very, very nice for her to just be kind of real, which she is. So,
truth is what my goal is, and obviously any music that flows through me is going to be affected by who I am, so if I can be as honest and truthful with it,
and vulnerable,
and vulnerable, then, and also when it works like that, it feels like I'm doing something that's necessary, that I need and that others need. With you too, I listened to your music. I really felt connected to something that's probably I'm not able to articulate so well, but like an understanding. I was like, oh yeah, I get that. I think I understand what she's about, and I think this could really, her music could speak through me. And I think it's so cool that you wrote your first song.
It's because of you.
Just very recent. And I hope that you will think about writing some more for singers.
Thank you. Thank you for opening that door for me.
Little steps.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for saying yes.
Together again. Hold on just a second. It's the final humiliation. So the greatest joy is made by the people you work with, the people you are around. They are your friends, they are your colleagues, they are your mentors, and Joan fits the bill in all those categories. She is the greatest gift we have here at Bard, and she's the greatest gift we have to music. Thank you, and happy birthday, Joan.